the final boss, which is gonna be Lost Auto Group Playbook Esports Eagles Doujin.
The best
Moku
law.
Doujin.
The best law in the nationals right now with that 93%.
Oh, that win rate is insane, to be perfectly honest. To be perfectly honest, that win rate is insane. With a guy with a character pool like Doujin, and by character pool I mean everything. He owns the entire 5 hectares of Tekken when it comes to character involvement. And you can see here, holy moly.
Yeah, I'd like to throw out a little trivia. You saw on that previous graphic that Doujin has played 37 characters in total. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, Tekken 7 launched with 36 characters. So Doujin has basically played vanilla Tekken 7 the entire nationals. He's played every character that's come out.
He's played every character, and we can see the game record here. Doujin does have an advantage over Vermilion with the 11-7. And honestly, it's really such a toss-up because Vermilion can have his days, and when Vermilion activates, he just gets red hot.
Seeing the game faces from both players. Okay, the game faces have been broken because they are waving now at the camera. But you can tell this is a big fight feel. This is our main event for day 3 of the National Tekken Conference. And I can't help but notice the dab.
Of course, we gotta notice the dab. We gotta notice all these player cam shenanigans, because that's one thing I miss, having to see it in person. But of course, that's another thing we have to talk about. But because this is gonna be a match. This is a great closing match. If you guys came here to be entertained by great Tekken, this is great Tekken.
And we've said it for the past 3 days. We don't know what's coming when it comes to Doujin. And how do you prepare for that?
Well, to be perfectly honest, you just don't. You have to play your game. You have to play your game, understand his in the middle of it, but you have to show your dominance first before anything. And it's one of those things because it's hard to adjust to Doujin. One thing that you can notice, I think this is a prevalent trend with both Eagles, is they will exploit something that you can't defend against ever. They will do it again and again and again and again up until you block it. And that's an answer.
Yeah,
that's an answer. Vermilion pulling out side characters.
Oh god,
Vermilion pulling out side characters. This is wow.
And we're seeing the Doujin Feng. This is quite a storied Feng as well. Really high level still. Doujin plays all the characters at the highest competitive level.
Moku Doujin is one fan name that we've given him. And yeah, here it is. Let's see if he can pull out the right way, the Feng way, against this Fakum Ram.
Show us the way.
Show us the way, Feng way. Oh my goodness, shoulder. Throw that shoulder immediately. Look at that confidence that Doujin has with this Feng.
Right, starting off 2 huge Iron Fortresses and the low shoulder here. He has Vermilion on the ropes literally in the first 12 seconds. Can Vermilion get started?
Every single time, like I talk about Doujin. Oh my goodness. Mix up? That's for breakfast. Vermilion just walked in the bank and walked away with the money.
If you blink, you would miss it. That was a lightning quick comeback, and that shows the firepower of Fakum Ram.
Yep, the mix-up power, the stuff that you can get away with as this character. Fakum Ram is scary. But of course, Doujin, you can never count him out because he's always one of he is one of the greatest that has played this game. And oh no, good punish here from Doujin.
I thought you were about to say one of the best there is, one of the best there was, and one of the best there ever will be.
Well, of course, Doujin is the excellence of execution here, but Vermilion really trying to get that offense in, but Doujin adjusting accordingly. He's not even pulling out those Doujin shenanigans that we've seen anymore.
Oh, beautiful sidestep there. Sealing the round. 2 rounds right now for Doujin. The action has been really fast-paced and high-octane right now. Vermilion getting that counter hit. Now has the wall, the resplat, the mix-ups. Here we go.
And it's just scary, like what Vermilion, what these two are doing. It's just all that pace is just gonna catch up, and Vermilion goes with his own lightning round here.
Players have been going back and forth all game one long, and they are not stopping. And Vermilion continuing with the aggression with that running knee, treating it like a slash kick.
Big tiger knees here from Vermilion, and goodness! Now Doujin pushing Vermilion to the wall, trying to exploit the defense. More knees, and now it's down to the wire between the two of them, plus frames from the shoulder. Oh goodness! Doujin, with the skin of his teeth, gets the first game, and that's just the first game. There were no Mishimas in that game, but the atmosphere was electric.
Both players just throwing moves out left and right, trying to one-up each other, trying to steal each other's momentum, getting as much damage and mix-ups as they could. But Doujin being so clutch in those final few moments.
Incredibly clutch. And that's what makes him him. That's what makes him one of the top players here in the Philippines, is that clutch factor. You can never phase Doujin, no matter what.
And he's one of those players who never loses confidence. He's always sure in his game plan. He's really one of those players who strategizes, who goes to the lab, and once he is in the heat of battle, no matter what happens, no matter how flustered he may get, he sticks to it. And we saw in those final moments, right? It looked like Vermilion stepped on the brakes just a little, but Doujin was just full speed ahead.
Always, and those were all lightning fast rounds. It was scary to think that these are two top players, and it's just constant stomps. It looks like the playing field is pretty equal. But yeah, Doujin, he might be a goof outside the ring, but you could really tell how much he takes this game seriously.
Yeah, every time you meet him at events, he's always smiling. He talks to you, right? And then, but once he sits down, he is a machine. He is almost unstoppable. You talked about, if you're fighting Doujin, you have to find a way to dominate him, but that's almost impossible, really.
That is almost impossible every time, yeah, right? But yeah, he didn't get this doctorate of Tekkenomics for nothing. This man got his degree, got his doctorate in that. In the great Tekkenomics, and you can see he's one of the only professors that we can rely on. But of course, Vermilion wants to refute that with his own research paper with this Fakumram. My goodness.
Starting it off, Doujin up 1-0. That little low shoulder there, he's gotten a lot of mileage out of it. Nice little mix-up, catches the launch. The wall though ruins the combo.
I think he dropped it on purpose to go for better Oki. Because the shoulder actually sometimes makes you switch positions, because that's usually when shoulder wall enders do. And Doujin just purposely putting that on for the Oki and forcing Vermilion to stay at the side of the wall. And it paid off.
Great stuff from Doujin there, the decisions that you have to make on the fly. And that's one of the things that, Tekken players really, they need to be aware of their positioning and the possible combos that they should do while they're approaching the wall.
And really good stuff here, but once again, Doujin in rage, but shoulder after that palm. Ooh. The stop sign is one thing you have to keep track of. And oh my goodness, he read all of that.
He blocked everything and went for that backswing palm to seal the round. Doujin is on fire, and he is one round away from taking it over Vermilion.
Lightning fast Doujin is with this dominance he has. But Vermilion keeping it kosher. This time he's keeping the space. Ooh. He does have the longer limbs. Oh my goodness. Doujin now puts him up against the wall. Headbutts.
Headbutt 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And he changes it up at the last moment. And now he has a huge life lead and that Iron Fortress shoulder sealing the deal.
Goodness. Doujin.
The National Season 2 Tekken 7 Conference Day 3. Andito na nga tayo sa ating post-match show. And right now, kasama natin ang ating mga casters, Dr. Jimmy and Young Rafiki. What's up, guys? And I know it's been a long day. We've seen a lot of good games today para sa ating mga players. Nakita naman natin kung gaano in-enjoy ni Maru yung pagtingin niya sa camera at paglagay ng 0-2. Anyway, pag-usapan na natin yung mga nangyari sa araw na ito. And of course, una sa lahat, syempre, sabi nga nila, you can't spell Akuma without AK. Can you guys tell me something about what happened a while ago with AK, knowing na si AK din ay natalo for the very first time in this conference, no, by Fakumram of Hapon, and Hapon is really doing great right now. What can you say about the matches of AK today? Dr. Jimmy, go ahead.
For me, no, I think AK did really well to start off. Siguro the matchup that he had against Don Argus was really weird because Don Argus is using a 2D character. Tapos he chose Akuma as well, another 2D character, and it looked like he was just going to steamroll throughout the day. Pero leading into his match with Hapon, right? Si Hapon, he has the winning formula. Parang he has the winning formula against AK because he's 4-2. That's a great record to have against someone who wins it all, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Ikaw naman yung Rafiki, ano masasabi mo about sa mga matches ni AK kanina?
Well, really, yung talaga, for AK, I think Hapon picked the right character kasi Fakumram has has limbs long enough to stop any jump-ins from Akuma. It's a really great anti-air. And he's a big enough character to stop him in his tracks. Tsaka yung fact nga, Hapon is just really, really good at applying the science that he learns. Kasi he's always in practice mode. He's a lab monster, as labeled by the rest of our co-casters, and he just applies he just applies everything and uses it to his advantage.
Well, people say nga na si Hapon nga parang God Slayer yung datingan niya kasi siya yung nakakuha ng unang win against AK. And speaking of ito ngang mga players natin from LPE, no, we know Doujin and AK is on top of our leaderboards right now. And do you think, guys, we've seen a lot of conferences from these guys sa Tekken 7, a lot of tournaments as well. How can these players punish the two standing on the top right now, si AK at si Doujin? Let's start with AK since siya na rin yung pinag-uusapan natin. Sa tingin nyo ba, paano ipapunish si AK dito sa ating conference? Nakikita kong nahihirapan na mag-isip si Doc Jimmy. Hindi niya rin malaman kung paano niya ipapunish si AK. Kaya uunahin na kita, yung Rafiki. Go for it.
Okay, so one thing na notice ko is the momentum that AK gets is so hot. Whenever you give him a finger, he gets a limb. So I think the best way is to make sure he cools down as much as possible. Don't give him any space. I know it's the most obvious things out there, pero yun din ang talaga like makikita natin for AK losses, you really have to cut him off as much as possible.
Ituloy mo na rin, pati kay Doujin na rin. Siya yung top 1 natin ngayon How can you punish a guy that uses every character that he can possibly feel like using?
Personally,
he's having a hard time.
I might have a heart attack.
Okay. Doc Jimmy, sige, puntahan muna kita para doon kay AK. How do you think these guys can punish AK dito sa tournament natin or sa conference natin?
I think science. You need science on your side when you go up against a player like AK. AK is probably the one player in the Philippines who has the most replays online. He's the most active, he's the most studied, he's the champion, so everyone's watching him, right? So I think people really have to watch him carefully and really try to figure out, what he does, because what he's been doing has really been working. He plays from his heart. He abuses these moves that you show you can't punish, right? So you have to be ready for everything. Parang every aspect of your Tekken playing essence needs to be at tip-top shape. Alam mo yung mga attributes, di ba? Yeah, for sports, you have height, power, speed, etc. for Tekken, you have your execution, you have your movement, you have like all of these things, and you have to have all of them like class S. And that's just the prerequisite pa. There's still more of that. But yeah, you have to be at the top of your game talaga if you want to beat these two.
Pero that's true, no? AK has a lot of replays, to sabi nga ni Doc Jimmy kanina. And a lot of people is looking at this guy. Para tong nasa kanya lahat yung crosshair ng mga tao, kumbaga, no? And to think na he still keeps winning the games even though these players, alam naman natin na nakakalaro nila si AK din as well in just friendly matches. And they still can't figure out these guys on what to do on them. So, right now, paano naman kay Doujin? So, Rafiki, I think you had enough time to think about this question. Go for it.
I really think Nano, your best game against Doujin will always be the way you play. I think because Doujin likes to play the way he plays, you have to answer with your heart too. Parang, I know this is a little bit philosophical or cheesy, pero play the way you play. You have to prove your Tekken is better than his talaga. Yan lang. Kasi Doujin's just so unstoppable.
Ooh, interesting. Doc Jimmy?
Doujin. It's hard to go against the unknown. That's basically how it is when you step up to a console. Tapos alam mo yung kalaban mo is named LPE.Doujin, right? It's like looking into nothingness. You don't know what's coming. And I guess some players can take that as an advantage because you don't know what's happening, you don't know what to expect, and in cases like that, it's like, oh sige, come what may, I'll just give it my all. And once the game starts naman, you need to be able to understand their game plan, pick up on the move that they're using, and immediately find a way to stop that, right? Pero once you stop that, they have another move coming. So it's really hard. You really have to be on top of your game talaga.
Basically, para kang nagtiteke na nakapatay yung ilaw ng monitor mo. Basically, I think that's it, di ba? Yun eh. Kasi, mahirap din naman maging jack of all trades, di ba? Yung pagiging focus mo sa isang character will make you a master of it. But this one is a master of everything. I think that's very hard to achieve. But moving on dito sa mga top 2 players natin, pag-usapan naman natin yung mga ibang matches natin today. Lalo na yung nakita natin with Nature Lover and Hapon. We saw a counter-aggression, aggressiveness with these both players. And nandun pa rin yung Leroy Nightmare ni Nature Lover. Lahat nata na nakalaban niya, correct me if I'm wrong, lahat ng nakalaban niya ngayong araw is Leroy. Am I right? Or there are some games na hindi Leroy yung kalaban niya?
I think puro Leroy talaga.
Leroy, di ba?
Yeah.
Well, with this, how can Nature Lover shut down Leroy? Do you think he should use another character or he should still focus on Julia, Doc Jimmy?
I think he's slowly solving the puzzle naman eh. The first game against Hapon, it was 2-0 according to my notes. Like Hapon was able to stop everything that he had in the bag. Pero when the second half of the day started, he went up against Coffee Prince, who also used Leroy. And he made progress. Even though he didn't win the first game, he won the second. Or in the first game, he showed na he's really making the changes to his gameplay, to his rhythm, yung habits niya. He made it hard for the Leroy to get yung counter hit 1-inch punch. He baited yung mga parries, right? So he's on the right track. I think he just needs to continue what he's doing because it's working.
I mean, we're on day 3 pa lang, diba? So, yung Rafiki, go for it.
Actually, same with Dr. Jimmy. Even though Julia has some problems with Leroy, specifically yung parry, the 1-inch punch can actually get a counter hit for free sa hop kick if he continues to press buttons. But aside from that, the way Nature Lover plays, he's slowly but surely getting back into the rhythm. And speaking of science, Nature Lover is one of those people. He has a lot of time in the lab. He can cook up a new brew, and he's so good at applying what he learns every single day. And he's constantly showing it to the people here.
Well, I heard nga ito, narinig ko lang na syempre sa mga analysts and casters natin, we talk about it. But, it also depends kung sino din yung gumagamit nung character. I mean, you can have Leroy all around the corner. Ako, gagamit ako na Leroy against Nature Lover. I'm not gonna win because I don't use it. I mean, I don't use it or I don't play it at all. But it really depends talaga kung paano mo lalaruin itong mga characters na yun. And so, I think, gaya nga nasabi yung dalawa, nag-a-adjust na nga ngayon si Nature Lover. We're on our third day pa lang sa conference na ito and we're gonna see a lot of players jumping in. Speaking of jumping in, ito nga si coach, yung dati nating coach pala na si Pika, umakyat na sa ating leaderboards. No? And we're gonna talk about the coaches transitioning to players. Ito na nga si Nature Lover and si Pika, dating mga coach and now transitioning into players. No, it's very hard. It's not the same, definitely. Sabi nga ni Poch Spice kanina, analysis paralysis. They may be thinking too much of what's happening because they're used to being a coach. Now, how can these guys transition better papunta sa pagiging players natin? Doc Jimmy.
I think they just really need to keep on playing. When you're a coach for an entire season, you're just there, you're watching. Sure, yeah, you do mga lab work with the player that you're coaching. You get to play a couple of games, but the tournament environment, the conference environment, the first franchise esports league environment, you have not experienced that as a player. And I think what these coaches really have to do is just ease their way into being a player. And I think both of them are adjusting fine naman, and I expect them to hit their stride around day 5 or 6 or even tomorrow.
I see. How about you naman, Rafiki?
In fact, like, I honestly think na Pika has already like found his rhythm, considering how dominant he was today. And another thing is really, even though they expose themselves to, let's say, outside tournaments and stuff, it's a very different format here. So it's only a matter of time before they can start adjusting, and they need to adjust quick because the days come quickly. And I want to see the fullest potential for all of them.
Tama kayo dyan, guys. So, practice lang ng practice. Pagalingan nga pumindot. Sabi nga ng mga comments natin kanina with Tekken, no? Pero guys, gusto ko nang sabihin na ang lungkot ko, di ako nakakita ng King versus King ngayong araw. Alam kong we were expecting it, pero malay natin sa ibang araw, di ba? With Pika and also Rock and Roll. Pero guys, eto na. What was the most interesting match that you saw today? Doc Jimmy, ano sa tingin mo yung pinaka-interesting match na nakita mo ngayong araw? Who's the MVP for your day? Naku, tumitingin pa sa listahan mo kang madami to.
This is hard. But I'm going to go with the last match because it's in my memory. It's fresh in my memory pa rin. It was really back and forth talaga. Both players were just going wild. They were playing their games. And you could really see their personality. So for me, that match really struck me.
Last match for Doc Jimmy. How about you, young Rafiki?
I'm gonna be greedy with 2 matches, actually. Like, both Maru matches. Both Maru matches. You could see how confident he can be. You could see how well he can play any character. Hell, we didn't even know that he had an Ana, and look at how good he was with it. And it just made a statement that the last time he went to the finals, that wasn't a fluke. Dian Chamba, that was all Maru.
Ooh, that was all Maru. Thank you guys for joining me today, guys.
Thank
And
you.
maraming salamat sa lahat ng nanood ng araw na ito para sa The Nationals Conference natin for Tekken 7. Thank you guys so much. Again, I'm your host, Eliza Taylor. And thank you, Doc Jimmy and Young Rafiki for casting the day. And also, Poch and Raf a while ago. Maraming salamat, guys. Tumutok lang kayo sa The Nationals. I-like nyo lang ang page at i-on nyo ang notifications for more information sa ating conference na ito. Maraming salamat and we're gonna see you on the next The Nationals.